There are 38 cities in the world named Paris, from the United States, through Sweden, to Panama. In this video, however, we will focus on the most famous one, the capital of France. Find out what to see in Paris. Millions of tourists from all over the world visit Paris every year. Only few people do not plan to come there again after the first visit. Wonderful atmosphere that prevails there does not allow you to forget about the moments spent in the capital of France. The historical part of the city may not be large, but it is definitely worth exploring on foot to admire its beautiful architecture. There is something interesting and delightful practically on every street. One of the most important attractions of Paris is the Notre-Dame Cathedral, located on a natural island in the Seine. Everyone has surely heard about the fire that took place there in 2019. The cathedral was burning in front of millions of spectators from around the world. Unfortunately, due to this event, only virtual tours are possible now. They are still a great experience though. While sailing along the Seine, you can admire the building from the outside and appreciate its Gothic character. Close to Ile de la Cite Island there is another natural island of Saint Louis. You don't have to take notes. We have included all the practical info in the description below the video. That's where you can also find links with accommodation, tickets to attractions and tips on how to pay abroad so as not to overpay on currency conversions. There are 4 kilometers between the Arc de Triomphe and the Louvre, but it's well worth the walk to pass the famous Champs-Élysées, Place de la Concorde and Jardin des Tuileries. It is however worth starting with one of the symbols of France, that is, the Arc de Triomphe, which was built at Napoleon's order. It's good to take a close look at this construction from all sides. At the top there is an observation deck and inside there is a small exhibition. The most popular museum in the world, the Louvre is certainly one of the most recognizable buildings. The pyramid looks great in the evening. This place will delight not only art lovers. There is so much to see that you can easily spend a whole day in the Louvre. Walking from the Arc de Triomphe to the Louvre, you pass the Champs-Élysées, where the trendiest restaurants and shops are located. Children will surely stop by the Disney store, and automotive fans will want to see the Formula 1 bolide and a historic car that can be admired at the Renault exposition. The most famous attraction is, of course, the Eiffel Tower, which is 307 meters high. It was designed in 1889 and a wonderful panorama of the city stretches from its highest viewpoint. You can walk up or take a lift to the top. The second option, however, requires a bit of patience, as the queues are usually very long. If someone is terrified of queues or his fear of heights is a problem, the tower can be admired from the Trocadero Park, which is located on the other side of the river. Champs de Mars, which is a meeting place for the locals, is located right next to the Eiffel Tower. In the summer, you can see blankets spread all over the area, with people of all ages sitting, sipping wine and eating baguettes. Finally, it is worth seeing the House of the Invalids, which houses the Museum of the French Army. You can also see Polish names on the boards here. Napoleon, members of his family and famous French commanders are buried in the palace. The Montmartre District stretches on a hill and was incorporated into the city only in 1860. At the top there is the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, which can be accessed by stairs. You can also take a special cable car to get there. A few hundred years ago, the town was famous for its mills. Only 2, which are definitely a must-see, have been preserved to this day. The Place du Tetra is a popular spot where you can meet street performers from all over the world. It's also where the Moulin Rouge, the most famous cabaret in the world, is located. Unfortunately, the building is not original as it burned down in 1915 and was rebuilt in an almost identical manner 6 years later. The show is one of a kind, and every detail is refined to perfection. Handmade costumes, Swarovski crystals, atmosphere and beautiful dancers, you just have to see it live. The Seine is the symbol of Paris and it is definitely worth taking a walk or a cruise along its banks. Going for a walk, you can admire beautiful bridges and facades. There is also a miniature of the Statue of Liberty. Spend a wonderful time at Isle de la Cite and the Alexandre III Bridge. Boats depart from the Pont de Ialma Bridge for an hour-long cruise. There is also a water bus which can be taken from any station. An interesting attraction is the night cruise on the Seine, which allows you to discover Paris from a different side. Beautifully lit top attractions look great. Everyone will fall in love with such a French capital straight away. You can go on a cruise with dinner and a bottle of champagne, which is a great idea for a romantic date. The Sun King's Palace is a must-see on the map of Paris. Its interiors are decorated with great splendor. You can admire numerous works of art and see beautiful gardens outside. Next to the palace there is the Palace of Marie Antoinette Petit-Trianon, which is also worth visiting. A big plus is the fact that the gardens can be visited for free. Latin Quarter is truly amazing. You can walk along beautiful streets that look especially impressive after dark. The Parisians and tourists feast and spend evenings here with a glass of wine and a tasty dinner. There is also the Sorbonne University and the Fountain of Saint Michael to see. One cannot forget about the Pantheon where Maria Curie Sklodowska rests. The ruins of a Roman-era amphitheater are also nearby. This rather inconspicuous place is an interesting point on the map of the French capital. What's more, there are not many tourists, but rather Parisians playing ball. The building with a metal facade houses the Arab Institute, where you can see exhibits presenting the Arab history in France and throughout Europe. Art lovers will surely be delighted with Paris, as there are many museums and streets where you can admire artists performing live in this city. Works of art were created in the capital of France practically in every era. Of course, the Louvre is number one. Due to the fairly extensive exhibition, it is worth deciding which part to spend more time on before entering. There is also the d'Orsay Museum, which houses the works of painters creating in the years from 1848 to 1914. The building was taken over from the former station, and the facade with the clocks deserves a lot of attention. Modern art can be admired at the Pompidou Center. People who do not know much about art or are not interested in it should at least see the building from the outside. It looks splendid and stands out from the rest. Strong colors, pipes and escalators form the facade of the building. Apart from the museums, it is also good to see the Opera Garnier and the Lafayette Gallery. The opera can be visited with a guide, and in the gallery there are shops of exclusive brands that are located in truly royal interiors. There are numerous parks and gardens in the city that delight with their beauty. It is impossible not to mention them and not to see them while visiting the city. The most famous and the most beautiful is the Luxembourg Garden, which is located near the Pantheon. On its premises there is a pond, as well as a cafe and a small palace. Original buildings can be seen in Monceau Park. The sculpture of Chopin, as well as a small pyramid or rotunda, are particularly noteworthy. Many people have certainly seen a silver ball in the photos. It is located in the Parc de la Villette. You can also explore a submarine there. When in Paris, you must visit Disneyland. Not only children, but also adults will be happy to see their favorite fairy tale characters. Currently, Disneyland is divided into two parks. One of them is typically a fairy tale character, and the other one puts more emphasis on modern films and animations. It is best to plan your visit for 2 days, due to quite large queues, as well as a large area and numerous attractions. In addition, there is another amusement park near the city, Parc Asterix, and Aqua Boulevard de Paris Water Park is recommended for the lovers of water fun. You can spend time sliding down the winding slides and having fun in the artificial waves. The capital of France looks great in the evening. You can not only see the illuminated Eiffel Tower, but also have a romantic dinner in one of the narrow streets or go to the top of the tallest building in Paris, Montparnasse. At the very top you can have a drink or eat something delicious. There are also plenty of discos in the city, where you can party until dawn to various types of music. Watching the sunset from a hill in the Montmartre District is also a romantic attraction. Perfect view stretches from the stairs located under the Sacré-Cœur Basilica. Paris is the most popular city in France, visited by many tourists. Sightseeing can sometimes take a long time because of queues. Is it worth going to this wonderful city on your own then? Of course. Both exploring it with a group, a guide, or on your own has some advantages. An organized trip provides more comfort and guarantees that you will see the most important points and attractions of the city. However, exploring on your own means that you can occasionally get lost and end up in a place that is truly special. You can relax and you don't have to focus on every point included in the plan. It all depends on individual preferences. Regardless of the form of sightseeing, Paris impresses and does not let you forget about it. Huge metropolis means that the city lacks parking spaces and there are traffic jams on the streets. Therefore, the best way to explore it is by public transport. The city has a well-developed metro network, as well as buses and trains. You can buy one ticket for all means of transport and easily move from one point to another. It is also worth visiting some places on foot to feel the atmosphere of the capital. In Paris, there are about 300 metro stations and 16 lines, so you can easily get to any attraction. Lovers of two wheels can also use city bikes that make sightseeing easier. Everyone is certainly aware of the fact that the capital of France is quite expensive. However, you can save a bit if you take a few circumstances into account. For instance, for people under the age of 26 there are discounts and the admission tickets are sometimes free. In many places, the first Sunday of the month means no need to buy a ticket. Such practices are used in most museums. Of course, this involves long queues, but it's worth waiting a bit longer to save a dozen or so euros. The list of free admissions is available on the city's website. You can visit parks and churches at no cost. It is also a great form of exploring the city which enables you to see Paris from a slightly different perspective. You can save quite a lot by selecting group tickets for several rides by public transport. It is also worth considering buying a time card, thanks to which you can count on additional discounts when entering some of the city's attractions. It is worth taking into account that some museums and institutions may be closed on Mondays or Tuesdays. It is therefore good to check before leaving what is open and which attraction to plan for another date. It is not always possible to communicate in English. Of course, in restaurants and hotels there is no problem, but in shops or supermarkets you can come across some complications. It's good to have a dictionary or a phone with a translator with you. You also have to be careful in some parts of the city. The historic center is safe, but the vicinity of the stations or the St. Denis district are no longer safe places. On the streets you can meet many military men who patrol the area after the attacks that took place in the capital. There is also a huge problem with rats that are often seen on the streets. While in Paris, you should definitely try French specialties. There are some customs in French restaurants that are worth getting acquainted with. For instance, afternoon meals are served from 12 to 2:30 and evening meals from 6 or 7. If you want to eat at other times, you must look for a notice non-stop service on the door. After entering the restaurant, the table is chosen by the waiter. In most restaurants you can get water and bread for free and you can ask for extra portions. People who would like to eat traditional and not too expensive dishes should look for a restaurant with the name Bouillon. You can also organize a picnic by the Seine or under the Eiffel Tower, which will be much cheaper. Every tourist should try the Parisian baguette, which has become the symbol of France. Butter croissant or pain au chocolat, that is, chocolate bread, are worth recommending too. The French usually eat them for lunch. You must definitely try the French macaroons. These are almond flour cookies that come in a variety of colors and flavors. They go great with coffee. Everyone probably knows that the French eat snails, and it would be good to try this delicacy. They are served in parsley and garlic butter. It takes practice to pull them out, but it is a great dish and good fun at the same time. Besides snails, Paris is famous for its oysters. They are usually served with onions and vinaigrette sauce or traditionally with lemon. There is also fondue, which is melted cheese. Pieces of bread stuck on a long fork are dipped in it. Of course, these are just a few examples. French cuisine is really diverse and lovers of good food will surely be delighted. You can find booths and food stalls on practically every major street. There is no need to go to expensive restaurants. A picnic in the streets of Paris is a great entertainment and experience. If you're already planning your trip, you can find accommodation and tickets to attractions on the spot in the links under the video description. You can also order a card for cheap payments abroad the same way. Press the bell and subscribe to our channel if you want to receive notifications about new episodes. Have a nice trip.